In Star Wars The Clone Wars series, we get to see many different Republic senators. Few of these really stand out to me, and they offer such unique perspectives and really enrich the story of the Republic through this time. So come with me as I take you through these really interesting characters. One of the prominent figures is the renowned Bale Orana. We very much know his name quite well, but during this time of the Clone Wars, we get to see quite a bit of him doing his thing, being a senator and what he got up to. He carried himself with such grace and he maintained such a composed and understated demeanor in the political sphere, which I found contrasted very well against other characters. It became very clear that his ultimate goal was justice and aiding refugees and war-affected individuals, and this dedication of humanitarian values really kind of made an impression on me and made me understand why he had such a great connection to Padme and why they got along so well. And there's quite a few episodes of those two working together a lot, which makes sense. I just love, he's not an overt character. He's not very like boisterous or outspoken, but he's very solid and he's always there. He's like a glass of milk at the end of the night or something. He calms you down. He's a really steady character, and I love just his involvement. It's always him with a group of people, and it always just adds an interesting dynamic to see him contrasted against kind of some of the more outspoken senators in the Senate. One character I think is really fun and a very Clone Wars-esque character is Anaconda Far, or we know him as Uncle Ono. Of course, he's not the biological uncle to Padme. It's more of like a mentorial, like family friend uncle, not related. Obviously, she's human, he's Rhodian. This is where the episode in season 1, Bomb Bad Jedi, comes into play, and this is such a fun episode. On the surface, it's just Jar Jar and 3PO being ridiculous and getting into childish games, but really, this is a deeper episode that I think really reflects Senator Farr, his perspective on the war and what's going on. Because we have Uncle Ono, Republic Senator, confiding with the Separatists, with Nute Gunray, in talks with them, the Trade Federation, of getting help to his planet of Rhodia. This is a really subtle story point in this episode, but it is really important because it shows that some of these maybe smaller planets that don't get a lot of say in the Senate are really struggling, and I think this would be happening on such a large scale where, as much as they're part of the Republic, they're not getting the help from the Republic as they need. So Ono literally goes through the whole thing of having Padme come as like a hostage and as like a bargaining power to the Trade Federation, to Nute Gunray, in the hopes of getting supplies, water, food, and help for his planet. I think that just emphasizes the dire state of the war. A lot of the Clone Wars was doing that, of just showing the destruction and the destructive effects of what the war is. Even if there isn't like a battle, there was never a battle of Rhodia, but there's so much strain on the economy and societies involved in this. And so I think this is a really interesting episode. Bomb Bad Jedi. It's hilarious that Bomb Bad Jedi is an interesting episode, but it really is because it does show that side of it. And Uncle Ono, he was almost about to sell out for his planet. But this is not the only interesting episode he's a part of. Later on, he's in a couple of episodes, Pursuit of Peace. This is a very senator-focused episode. There's a murder. And it is, of course, the murder of Uncle Ono. And this is really sad because we get to see this character and we like him. He means a lot to Padme. And then he gets murdered. He gets murdered in cold blood and daylight. So I think this really shows the volatile nature of the Senate. It's not just everyone high-fiving and being best friends. There's a lot of disagreements in different levels and tiers of people in charge, and people going against senators and not liking who's in charge of their planet and things like that. So this is a Pursuit of Peace, great episode, very senator-based episode. Going into the theme as well as kind of senators going against people in charge is Senator Rio Chichi. Chichi is such a fun, enjoyable to watch character for me in Clone Wars. I love every single episode she's in, and she's in a few episodes of The Bad Batch, which are my favorite episodes of Bad Batch, by the way. Coming in at season 1, episode 15, we see Chichi in this episode where they discover the Tulls, this indigenous group of animal beings that live in this land, but the chairman, Chicho, that guy, my gosh, he's annoying, looks to take over the planet or the moon and take it for his own, and he says it belongs to Pandora. Chicho is super hostile. He's super rude. He really belittles the Tulls. And I think this, again, it's all about really good contrast. The character of the chairman really contrasts against Senator Chichi's really calm demeanor. She values life. She seeks conversation, discussion, and debating. She doesn't look for violence. It's a very stark contrast here with these two characters. But Chichi really holds that kind of sense of justice for everyone and equality all throughout the Clone Wars. And she's in like a bunch of more episodes after this, but this one's like probably the most poignant one for her character. Then we have a character like Halle Bertoni. Halle Bertoni was the Kaminoan senator. She was such an interesting player and involvement. And the episode I mentioned before, Pursuit of Peace, where Uncle Ono gets murdered, she is the prime suspect. From the get-go, Halle Bertoni is very shifty. You can tell she's kind of cutting some shifty deals with the banking clan. She's kind of dealing with some not great people. And of course, being ahead of like a military like run and like owned and purposed planet such as Kamino, like their commodity and economy is based on military. She has a really interesting show of a senator that values that and needs to achieve that. She kind of needs the war to keep going, and that's kind of very subtly pushed through this episode of that's kind of her stance, and that's where she kind of needs to sit. She kind of needs to make sure this war's going on so that herself and her planet and her people can like have like they can run the facilities on Kamino. So really interesting senator. You just get the off vibe with her the whole like series, and she shows up in Bad Batch very interestingly because obviously Bad Batch very heavily on Kamino. But it's really great to see her beginnings, and a couple episodes with her in it in Clone Wars to see that in then Bad Batch, because her character is just so shifty. But she's a part of the Senate. But that's the thing. It's like you don't get everyone's agreeing in the Senate. That's definitely not the case. And this is such a great show of it of her character. And of course, ending with Padme. Padme Amidala is iconic character, iconic in the prequels, very influential. And I love her portrayal all throughout the Clone Wars. I think it is excellently done. I think it really fleshes out her character. We know she was a good person. We know she did great things from the movies, but in this show, we really get to see what did that look like and how she helped people and how she dealt with people. We see that character of aggressive negotiations come out a lot, especially in the episodes where she goes to help Mandalore, help Satine Kryze, her good friend and I was going to say sister-in-law, but not really, but kind of, you know what I mean, But we see that a lot in this episode, especially the one where her Uncle Ono dies, the one I mentioned before. We see her kind of take that into her own hands, and she really goes after solving that and finding out those answers. And there's a lot of episodes where she's doing that. She's very active. She doesn't sit still in the Senate. I mean, we do get that impression heavily in the movies, but it was so great to see that fleshed out through the Clone Wars. They did that so well. What I think is the most interesting thing about, all these episodes, all these senators that we get to see, all their characters, the different nuances they have, the perspectives they have, they all come together. There's, who's going to win, who's right, what is good, what is evil. It is such an interesting play because this is all going on. It's so complex, but literally none of it matters because, of course, with Palpatine at the helm and what happens with Order 66 and the way everything goes, like at the start of the war, all these senators are working for good, and then suddenly it's an empire, Palpatine's in charge, and, we get the line, this is how democracy dies. So let me know down below what you thought of the political senatorial episodes of the Clone Wars. I really love these episodes. Some people didn't love them because there wasn't probably enough action or battles in them, but I love the snide, sneaky dynamics of all these characters all together. Really some of my favorite episodes. So let me know down in the comments what you think. Make sure you subscribe for more Star Wars community and entertainment. My name is Hannah. Always choose the right side.